So guys, I was just discussing about course content. So recording, don't worry, once I have started it anyways. So I was discussing about every class will be recorded fully. Don't worry, you will get it uploaded. So I was talking about architecture, like how F5 came into picture. Previously, guys, you only have client directly going to firewall, then going to your server. In this architecture, there was no protection which was there. Traffic was coming, they want to access SIANETS.com. Firewall was forwarding the traffic. If there is a policy, it will just forward the traffic to the server. Now, when F5 comes into picture, F5 works as a proxy module. In this case, it will see whether this traffic or this person is legal or non-legal. It will also check if server is responding, whether the traffic is good or it is a hacked traffic. So there are two types of traffic, trusted, untrusted. So when F5 comes into picture, guys, it gives you an advantage of load balancing. Plus, it is acting as a man in middle, where it can, whenever client initiate any session with SIANETS.com, it will check whether it's an hacker traffic or it's a normal traffic. Only when F5 trusts the traffic, then it will able to forward the traffic to server. If F5 sees that this is a violation coming from client, then you will get a block traffic. You will not able to access your website. When you access aws.com or any website, if F5 thinks that client is trusted, then only it will forward the traffic to your server, web server. Main application is hosted here only, guys. When you access any application, it is hosted physically here. F5 is logical coming into between. Whatever it's receiving from client, it is checking whether traffic is legal or illegal, and it is forwarding to your web server. So we'll talk about web application security, how OWASP top 10 works, deployment method, guys. So your F5, when you deploy in your production environment, how it is deployed. Let's say you have firewall, you have proxy, and you want to introduce F5 in between. Very, very important question. How the traffic flows when you have other modules. What is the difference between F5 WAF versus advanced WAF? That also we'll discuss in this course. So normally when you discuss about F5 architecture, their concepts come in firewall also. There is a concept of security policy. In WAF also, the same term is used, which is called security policy. But when I will build a policy, you will see there is a lot of difference between F5 versus Palo Alto or FortiGate. We will talk about DDoS, DOS attack, bot protection, HA part, login, how logs are being configured. So this was total a small agenda which I'll be covering in whole course. But every module, you have 20 modules. I will share you course content after this class. I might have shared to people who have enrolled. First, we will talk about big IP. Then we'll talk about packet flow. Today we are covering module 1 and module 2. From next class, we'll be covering about ASM, how HTTP works, what is HTTP request, and what is HTTP response. So if you see this, I don't want to do everything now. It has covered 20 modules, which we'll be covering in this whole agenda. Now, if I talk about today's agenda, guys, we will be covering first topic, packet architecture versus full proxy. When F5 was not there, what was happening? When F5 came into picture, what is full proxy architecture, what is inside your F5. Then we will see big IP platforms. Whether you can deploy F5 as in hardware, you can deploy F5 in cloud also, and you can deploy F5 in virtual edition. We'll cover all this in detail. And how F5 hardware looks like. What are the ports available? How F5 looks like. Then we will see initial setup, licensing part and provisioning part. So guys, this is called your packet-based design, where a normal router can be say as a packet-based, or firewall can also be said as a packet-based design. Very, very important, guys. You need to understand what is the difference between full proxy when F5 is coming into picture and when F5 is not there, guys. Here, can you see this? You have multiple client coming from internet, and they want to access your website, which is hosted on your server. Let's say they want to access SIANETS.com. How the packet flows. Anyone? I'm not talking about any full proxy architecture. There is no F5 in picture. In this, client is coming into picture. Router receives a packet. What it will look like, guys? When it forwards the traffic to server, what is the router? How router works? Anyone? Why we say packet-based design? In router, guys, it will just see your destination IP and it will forward your packet based on routing table. Any load balancing, guys, it will do. Is router so intelligent whether it can check HTTP and HTTP packets? Anyone? Can router works on layer 7, guys? No, guys. Router works as a simple layer 3 device. Packet receives, it will forward. What is the disadvantage of a router, guys? Anyone? What is the let me unmute you all for 2 minutes so that from this architecture, what you think in packet-based design disadvantage? You have
It
one
cannot
client. It
it cannot
cannot
inspect
do
the
packet filter actually.
Router, it is not a stateful. Means we have to allow
Excellent.
both incoming and outgoing.
Stateless. It is actually stateless.
Yeah.
Now you have multiple client, okay, accessing your website on one server. What is the another disadvantage of router? Let's say there are thousands of clients coming on internet and accessing your website, which is hosted on server, SIANETS.com. What is the disadvantage in that?
It cannot load balance the traffic.
Right, very good. But what is the disadvantage? Load balance is fine. You cannot have multiple
It
servers.
will not check any content. It will directly send it to the server.
No, is there any disadvantage on server end? Will you face any slowness issue?
It will not do any layer 7 inspection.
It is not so intelligent. It's not so intelligent to tell whether it's a normal user or a hacker or something.
Server may be over-utilized.
Excellent.
Router will not be able to check the server health like F5 checks the server health.
So guys, one person was said that it will get overutilized. That's answer I was looking. Multiple client coming to one server. Your application will become slow and overutilized problem comes in. So guys, whenever you understand any class or anything, you need to understand the basic. Why firewall is coming into network? Why F5 the hell is coming into my network? So F5 guys is coming into picture in the case where you have multiple requests coming from internet and going to server from F5 architecture. That is the main agenda which is coming into F5. So I will show you clearly, but this is the basic architecture of packet. Packet comes, it will just forward. There is no scanning happening either on this request or this request. Router is just a normal layer 3 architecture. Now I will come into full proxy architecture, guys. When I talk about full proxy architecture, first of all, guys, I want to understand in this, what is the difference between forward proxy and reverse proxy? Anyone? When
Yeah,
we
for
talk
suppose,
proxy, just 1 minute. Yeah, please tell me.
Sir,
for
yes,
example,
I can explain. Forward proxy is from internal to outside world. Based on the proxy, whether policy is allowed, it allows the traffic or blocks the traffic from incoming to the internet.
Okay, so you are saying that forward proxy is used when you have user sitting in your company, correct?
Yes.
Or you are in college, let's say,
Yeah.
and he wants to access
Any website. Based on
excellent.
the proxy, whether it is allowed or not, URL filtering means whether that website is allowed or not. Based on that, it will allow the.
Excellent. But does it provide load balancing feature?
No, it doesn't provide any load balancing feature.
So can I say forward proxy is a device which only does URL categorization or URL filtering?
Yes.
It can protect from vulnerabilities. What type of vulnerability generally it protects? It protects some content which user is accessing, like phishing page or spam. It can protect from that. Any question on forward proxy? So only thing when you are in college environment, you wanted to open any website like for cricket match, but you were not allowed. Any website which is not good, you wanted to open, but that is not allowed. That was protected from proxy. It was scanning your this traffic that user is accessing which website. And there are URL categorization. Let's say any spam website, any phishing website, we will create a URL categorization and we will say that users are only allowed to access internal websites of HCL. If he wants to access any cricket website or any news website or any gaming website, I will not allow. Let's say you want to play PUBG, okay, in your company. Is it allowed? Anyone? Through when you connect through your network, no, you will get caught. So this was a forward proxy. Now, anyone who can tell me what is reverse proxy? Guys, don't think that you know or know, don't worry. It's a normal discussion which will really benefit you. Anyone who wants to try for reverse proxy, by the name
yeah,
you will understand.
this is Karthik.
Yeah, go one by one, not an issue. Anyone can know. Yeah, Fatik, please go ahead.
Sure. So for example, yes, user sitting on the internet and he's trying to access a server which is in our organization. So user will go to the internet, then he will go to the F5 load balancer, then it will reach the server.
So
Yes.
can I say that
Yes.
most of the application, now one question for you guys. Mostly F5 are deployed in which environment? Is it outside environment, inside environment, or DMZ?
DMZ.
It is
Anyone else?
Sir, inside.
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 Now how, okay, whoever has answered inside, can you tell me when outside user wants to connect, will it not exposed?
No. No.
Why? When your F5 is inside, but your connection is coming from internet. I want to keep my internet world separate from my internal world. Will you expose your internal world to internet?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Now
So-
F5 will be deployed in which environment mostly? When application is externally. Most of your application AWS.com,
Yes. So BG Ravi
SIANETS.com.
speaking.
Internet facing.
Correct. If there is an internet facing application where you will deploy your F5 and servers. when someone is coming from internet.
DMZ.
You will
I
always
mean,
deploy
it
in
is
DMZ.
morely for web applications. Like internally, if the
DMZ
web
will.
applications are hosted, external
That
users
is an
will try to
internal, sir.
access.
I am only see. You don't need to explain interviewer this thing. Interviewer
Hmm.
will ask you a question. You need to answer the way. You need to
Okay.
understand the logic to answer your question, right? That will help you to clear your interview. Now I'm asking the simple question. My application is external and they want to access from internet. So I will place on DMZ, guys. Simple. DMZ is a separate world where you have separate internet architecture. It has no dealing with your internal architecture. But you have, if you have a need of internal load balancer, then you can have a one internal load balancer also. But if someone asks you, if you have external application, you want to expose to external world, always give that you exposed on DMZ. Now, my next question to you is, let's say I have a client, I have a firewall, I have an F5, then I have 3 servers. Now the load balancer concept is coming into picture. These are placed in DMZ. This is the architecture which is from production. Now, when you deploy this, guys, this is my client. Client IP is, let's say, 192.168 from my Wi-Fi network. I want to access my F5 website on this, let's say. Now on firewall, guys, do we need to do any changes when F5 came into picture? What are the changes? Let's say this website is SIANETS.com. And firewall is coming into picture. Now I'm not talking about DMZ, let's say. I'm not talking about DMZ. My firewall is external now and F5 is internal.
Netting is required.
Now what are the things which are required?
Which
Security
IP has to
policy.
be allowed?
Now, security policy is required to allow from outside to your F5.
Okay, in security policy, what will be the source IP and what will be your destination IP?
Source IP on the internet world will be any, or else here in this case 192.168.1.1 will be the source IP. On
And what is the destination?
destination will be the IP of
URL.
IP of the F5 server.
On firewall.
192.
Excellent.
It would be, yeah.
So here the
Destination IP will
concept
be
comes
firewall IP.
is a virtual IP.
Virtual IP. Yeah.
What is the website you are accessing? Any website. So on F5, you create a virtual IP. Virtual IP is nothing, but it is an FQDN of your website. So I will go part by part to understand more. Now, guys, one question to you all. You must have access your website. This interview question is a favorite interview question by most of the tech. When you open your URL from your browser, what are the 7 points which comes into picture? Just hold on. Very, very important interview question. And my topology is client, my firewall, I have F5, and I have 3 servers. And let's say this is my external world in F5, and this is my F5 to the server internal world. This is on 10.2.0 network, and this is on 192.168.1.0/24. Now my question is, when you open your website from a browser, what is the first thing which will happen? Please carefully understand my question. When you access any website from a browser, when you type sianets.com, what is the first thing which you will?
DNS resolution first.
DNS resolution.
Excellent. In this, what will happen?
The SIANET.com will provide the VIP.
We will get
where
the
you will-
SIANETS IP address.
So let's say in hold on, sir. In DNS resolution, what is the first thing which is checked?
Yeah, it will first check local cache, whether that URL is
Excellent.
first in the.
That is the, see, you need to answer my questions only. Excellent. Second point, if it's not there in local cache.
It will check the internal DNS server.
No, wrong. Anyone
No,
else?
sir. It will check the OS cache, OS level cache.
That is coming in cache only. After that, what it will check?
Root
Check
server.
the root server.
Top level
Root
domain
server.
server.
Browser call.
Wrong.
It will check
Anyone else?
LDNS.
Excellent. It will go to first local DNS, and what it will check there? ETC host, local host entry. If there your record
Yeah.
is in ETC host. Guys, this
Yeah.
question 90% will incorrect. Some says first it will go to ETC host. Always remember first it will go to local cache. After that it will check for ETC host.
Yeah.
Any doubts on that? Now what
So,
is there in ETC host? Anyone? Here we will create a record.
Sorry,
Yeah.
if you can explain local cache. Local cache is just like browser history.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a cache file when you access any website. Now next time if you access it, there is a cache which is created. There is a DNS cache concept. For how much minutes it should be share, it will be there. See, in the real world, there is a concept of CDN also coming into picture nowadays. Content delivery network that performs your caching. Because you need to make your external world fast, right? You don't want that people should wait for TCP for next. If same connection first time, it will do this. Next time, same browser comes in, where it will take. It will go to cache and check it. So that is a normal cache. After that, guys, a record, what will happen? ETC host also it does not find. Now then it will go to root server. If it does not find in root server, it will go to which server? First concept is dot. Then it will go to .com. That is called authoritative.
Yeah.
Then it will go to third one, guys. If it does not find in .com, then it will go to SIANETS.com. So this is the answer which people looks like. After DNS resolution is, guys, let's say DNS resolution is happen. User gets an IP address. SIANETS.com is resolving to 192.168.1.20. What is the next thing comes into picture? When you have client, firewall, F5 and servers. Second thing.
TCP handshake. Then SSL handshake.
Excellent. But I am saying that TCP handshake is not happening. Excellent. Answer is correct. TCP handshake between client to your F5 URL. But I am saying my TCP handshake is getting failing. Three-way handshake is not happening. What you will check?
First, I will check the
Routing.
port is open or not. Like if the application working on HTTPS, then port 443 should be open from the client.
Very good. Most of the application on website listen on which port, guys?
443.
443.
Or 80.
Yeah.
Or 80.
So you will check the firewall rule. Now firewall rule is there. What is the next thing you will check?
Then it will go to F5.
No, still TCP handshake is not working. And there was one person who was telling me previously. This is internal world.
Netting.
Then we have to check the routes.
CNets.com has one public IP also. Please listen my question. There is one public IP and one is F5 private IP. In firewall, what should happen?
Firewall F5 IP is allowed. I mean, web IP is allowed.
It will check the. It will check net rule.
Excellent. DNet should be there.
Yeah.
Destination net.
Correct.
Okay. So trust me, guys, if you understand today's this concept, you can clear 2 or 3 questions. Now, DNet is there. After that, TCP handshake still failing. Now traffic comes from firewall to F5. Now what will happen? TCP handshake is still failing. Now firewall role is finished. You have opened policy. You have done DNet. Okay. Now firewall has forwarded the packet to F5. And F5 has 3 servers. But TCP handshake is still failing. So TCP handshake will happen between client and your F5 virtual IP. But TCP handshake is still failing. What was the concern?
F5 should have default route towards firewall internal interface.
Okay, that will come into picture when it goes to server connectivity, brother. I'm talking, see, when F5 comes into picture, I'm telling you, there will be two connection, but very good answer you have done, but that is not correct totally. There will be two connection. One is client TCP handshake and one is server handshake. That is why it is called full proxy architecture.
Actually, it will check SSL if SSL is there or not. Without
Sir,
SSL,
before TCP SSL handshake is there. My question is TCP handshake is getting fail. See, that is how interview will confuse you.
Yeah, Vidit, Abhi speaking. F5 will again send a packet to, server, sync packet, and after that sync and again acknowledgement. It will happen.
Sir,
From
this
F5
TCP handshake is failing. This TCP handshake is failing between client to F5. Will it forward to server?
No.
First, this handshake
No,
should be successful.
No.
Then it will forward to server.
Yes.
Try to understand my question. I am saying TCP handshake between client to your virtual server. Virtual server is nothing, but it is your domain website IP address. But it is getting failed. Guess it, guys.
We need to check the security policy if it is given by VIP IP or the full qualified domain name.
Did we talk about WAF so far? Right now, it's a simple plain load balancer I'm talking.
actually, we need to verify the firewall rule between F5 and firewall. Like after the DNet,
So
it
guys,
will
again, you are not listening my question. I'm saying client to F5 handshake is getting failed. Now here the concept comes whether F5. See, I again told you I will discuss part by part so that you can get whole process carefully. I'm discussing the traffic flow. First, we have successfully made to this. Now it comes to F5. Now F5, do you know what is F5? Do you know what is the load balancer? F5 by default is hold on. F5 is the default deny device.
Could be SIANETS should be enabled in F5.
No, sir. SNAT will come later on. I will discuss.
Okay.
My question is F5 is a default deny device. In this case, guys, you will check whether which URL you are accessing is that virtual server created on F5 or not. If there is no virtual IP for this website, will three-way handshake successful? Anyone?
No.
No.
So that should be your answer. You should have, for every website, there is a concept called listener IP. If you have a listener IP for particular website, then only TCP handshake is initiating. And this listener IP should be on which port, guys? Let's say I access, now one question. Now my question is, I created my virtual server. Still my TCP handshake is failing. I've created a listener IP also. Now what thing I need to check? Still my TCP handshake is getting fail.
We have to check the port.
Excellent.
listener
No, hold on.
port
Now which port it should be there? It's an HTTP and HTTPS based application. Which port I should create a virtual server?
443 and 80.
Both.
Correct.
Yeah.
So guys, very good. Now you come a concept called F5 load balancer. What will happen? Traffic will receive on F5. Then there will be one virtual server. If application is HTTP, then you will have one virtual server with port 80. After that, guys, once traffic comes, TCP handshake will be successful. Once TCP handshake is successful, you have three servers. Server 1, server 2, server 3. Now there will be a TCP handshake happening between which of the server, guys? You tell me. Now what it will see? Right now we have not discussed, but I want some guesses.
Priority.
Now we have three
Load
servers.
balancing algorithm. Load balancing
Depending on
algorithm.
algorithm. Yeah.
Depends on
Excellent.
priority.
Here a concept comes load balancing algo. F5 will choose one of the server based on its internal load balancing algo. Let's say round robin, and it chooses your server 1. Now server 1, it will have a 3-way handshake. So this was your request traffic flow. And after that, your server will respond to F5 and F5 will forward to client. And you will able to open your website. But here is the catch. Whether F5 and between server, whether there is layer 2 device or layer 3 device coming into picture. Very, very important, guys. Here we have discussed about client architecture where firewall is there. Now, if there is a layer 2 device, guys, in that case, you will not face issues. But if there is a layer 3 device coming between F5 and server, what you need in layer 3 device or in F5?
We have to do the
SNet.
routing.
We have to do
Network
SNet.
routing.
SNet. Did I say
No, we
server
can
gateways?
use
Sir, hold on. Did I say server gateway? SNet, we will not discuss now, but we'll show because people are very basic. I'm treating everyone is from beginner. My question is, there is a layer 3 device coming from between F5 and a server. How F5 can reach a server? Do you need anything?
Routing. Routing should be required.
Sir, routing.
Excellent. See, guys, I'm not coming into SNET. I'm just talking about the routing flow right now. So only routing is needed. So there will be in F5, there is a route where you will give next hop as this and destination as your server IP. Okay, guys. So now I will show you full proxy architecture, which will help you to understand the full flow. So if you read this, your F5 is placed between a network between clients and servers. That is what I am saying. Incoming request will be handled by F5, which interacts on behalf of client. One more advantage what will happen is client will never come to know what is the server IP in this case, guys. That is why it is called proxy. Your real server IP will be always hide because client is initiating a connection with your virtual IP. So client will see, oh, I am getting a request from F5. So full proxy maintains two separate layers for connection. One is on client side and one is on server side. That is called full proxy architecture. Very, very important, guys. So there is forward proxy, reverse proxy, full proxy. Now we will go further. Very, very important architecture, which I was discussing. When F5 is there into picture, there will be two handshake. So this is called client side connection and this is called server side connection. I am talking about simple load balancer. I'm not talking about WAF. So you can think like as a LTM box, which is called load balancing. I will tell you what is the difference between LTM and ASM. But first, I am telling you what is the need of a load balancer. Now here you can see first TCP handshake is there. Then there is one data which will come, which is a HTTP request. HTTP get. Let's say it's an HTTP web. Then there will be one get packet. Then F5 will make one TCP handshake with server. If this handshake is failed, guys. If this handshake is getting failed, guys, F5 will never forward your traffic to server. This connection is separate. It does not have any dependency on this. This is called F5 to server connection. This is called CAN9 to F5 connection. And why it is called full proxy? Because there is a separate three-way handshake. I can say that between client to F5, guys, it is listening on HTTPS. But my F5 to the server, my servers are on port 80. See, when you access any HTTP based website, guys, that is an encrypted connection, correct? And you need encrypted one on 443. In backend, it is safe. Still, you can have HTTP. So that is where it's saying you can have separate flow. It is encrypted. This client to F5 will be encrypted so that no one can see the data. And F5 to server can be unencrypted because traffic is coming to internal world. Internal architecture is little safe. This one is little more exposed to security. So that is why it is on HTTPS. So you can say it is a network device F5 or it's a load balancer device which you can insert in data center virtually and where your connection is getting proxy. Here, can you see this? F5 can view the traffic. It can modify the traffic also. Let's say server cannot handle the compressed data. Server doesn't, let's say server only can handle 1 GB data, but request is coming 10 GB from client. So F5 will handle this on behalf of your server. So first advantage, guys, which F5 load balancer is giving is F5 is hiding your real server IP. Advantages we will talk about. And your front-end connection can be on HTTP 2 version. It can be on HTTP 1.1. So this one I will talk about F5. When F5 comes into picture, there are two networks. One is management interface and one is for data traffic. That I will explain you shortly. But before that, I want to explain you one picture. Now here comes your architecture of F5. Now guys, F5 was a company which is headquartered in US. And F5 is also called Big IP. F5 is a company like Juniper Cisco. Very, very important discussion which I'm doing now. F5 is a company like Juniper Cisco, and they have introduced one product called Big IP. And in this Big IP, the operating system is used TMOS. And TMOS full form is Traffic Management Operating System. Guys, if I want to catch you guys, okay, if I want to catch in interview, I will ask this question to you. What is the operating system used in F5? So that I will able to understand your concern. In Juniper, what is the operating system used? In Cisco, iOS. Some people show fake experience. So that is where we can catch. You should know the architecture. In Juniper, it is called Junus. Now, in this, guys, there are different modules. And our focus will be on LTM plus ASM. And then can you see this? F5 has a dedicated SSL engine. So we will see how SSL handshake is happening. See, server does not have a dedicated SSL engine. Server does not have compression engine. So that is why I am removing the load from server to my F5 load balancer. Very, very important architecture, guys. And can you see this? This total F5 is divided into two planes. This is called data plane. And this is called management plane. In management plane, this is for admin task. Let's say when you access GUI, CLI of your F5, that is all traffic goes via management plane. Now my question is, guys, if data interface, let's say there is a switch which is coming between F5 and server. Now this 1.2, let's say one interface which is there on F5, that goes down. Will I not able to access my GUI? Anyone? This is the interview question. If my data interface goes down or data traffic goes down, will I able to access my GUI of F5 or not? From here, you will understand my question. Yes or no? For me, I will say yes, because my management plane is a dedicated plane. It does not have any dependency on data plane. So here comes your, just 1 minute, 2 planes. One is called your operational management plane and one is called your traffic management. Can you see this? Management plane does not manage your traffic. It only provides admin functionality, that is GUI interface access, CLI interface access, that's it. But when I talk about traffic management plane, that is called data plane. That is traffic coming from client and F5 forwarding to your server. Very, very important, guys. Okay, guys. So this was all about the management plane. And now you should know at least functionality of this. What are the different modules? So I told you F5 is a company. Big IP is a product which F5 introduced. And in Big IP, you have separate module, LTM, GTM, ASM, and APM. Now we will come across what are the full form, guys. For this architecture, you should only know LTM and ASM. LTM is called local traffic. If I ask you about the full form in interview, so you should know what is LTM, local traffic manager, and ASM is called web application firewall. But I will say this is wrong. ASM is called application security manager. Term you need to remember carefully. By this term, you will understand what is the functionality of ASM and what is the functionality of local traffic manager. Now, let me draw a topology for both. When I talk about LTM, guys, that means your F5 and your servers are placed or application are placed within a data center. So I have client, F5, and my servers. This is placed in London data center. I want to access my website, SIANETS.com. Traffic comes from client to F5. I will check whether there is virtual server on port 80. After that, F5 will perform load balancing. That is called local traffic manager. And this is the first module which was introduced in F5. And role of this LTM is, first, my application should be 24/7 available. What does it mean? Does firewall provides your application 24/7, guys? UTM is providing this, guys. Someone was asking FortiGate versus F5 WAF. Does FortiGate UTM provides you load balancing? Will it make sure that my application is 24/7 available? I want my web application 24/7 available. And how it will happen, guys? It will happen because we have redundancy. If this server goes down, traffic will get load balanced to these two servers. That is it why it is called load balancer. Now, what is load balancer? Why it is called load balancer? So it will be segregated into load plus balancer. What does load means, guys? Anyone? And what does balancer means? You will understand from this. Load means client request. How many client requests are sending to F5? Balancer means I need to balance that client request into multiple servers within a data center. What help it will have? It will equally distribute. First, there will be redundancy, and I will make sure my application is 24/7. Second advantage it is providing is equal distribution. Does firewall has a capability of equal distribution of traffic? No, guys. When you have firewall or router, your servers get overloaded. But when I talk about this, in this server is not getting overloaded. That is why it is called equal distribution. No overload. Very, very important, guys. Because you have equal distribution. Now, one example like your manager is Hemu. Okay. Let's say you're working in one company, your manager is Hemu. Hemu has 3 projects from customer. One is for SD1, one is for Palo Alto, one is for F5. And he has 3 person, he's in company only. One is called Ram, one is Shyam, and one is Lakshman. Let's say Shyam and Lakshman is not well. And customer requirement is 3 projects needs to be completed quickly. Hemu has what thing? Application and projects can be done. It's available, but what Ram will feel, guides? Overload. You also request your managers right in your company, sir, can you give me more person? I'm overloaded. I cannot do work-life balance. I need to manage. I have to work 24 hours in a day. In that case, either you leave a company or you get overloaded. So that is why load balancer is necessary. When Hemu comes, Shyam and Lakshman is well. Hemu will assign SD1 to Ram, F5 to Shyam, and Polo to Lakshman. In that case, equal distribution of traffic is coming. No one will get overloaded, guys. This is called local traffic manager. But in this case, guys, is F5 checking whether this request is legal or illegal? Will F5 come to know my request from client is a hacker request or not? No, guys. So there is a concept comes web application firewall. It works on top of your LTM layer. It is also called application security manager. Application security means application plus security plus management of application. I have application to load balance that will be done by LTM boss. I can provide security. My customer says that, hey, Vidit, I want my application SIANETS.com 24/7 available. That is fine, yaar. I want that. But is there any system which makes sure that I have security also? I don't want this website to get hacked. I want security also, plus load balancing also. Does your Fortinet UTM provides that? I want 24/7 availability, plus security also, plus SSL offloading also, plus compression also, plus I want visibility of whole my traffic, what is coming from client to F5 and what is going from F5 to server and what is coming from server to F5. So that is where your WAF comes, and this WAF is applied where, guys? WAF, there is one concept called layer 7 policy. And this layer 7 policy is always applied on your virtual IP. So this is difference between local traffic manager versus WAF. WAF gives you security. It provides your web application from attacks. OWASP top 10. If someone asks you what is ASM, ASM is a device which protects your application from web application attacks, or you can say layer 7 attacks. Protects your application from, you can say, best definition is OWASP top 10 attacks. That we will discuss, don't worry, but you need to understand what is difference between LTM versus WAF. Now I will show you some pictorial representation which will benefit you. Very, very important question in interview. When I take interview, na guys, I first ask this question. Can you tell me what are the model number you have worked in F5? To test whether person is working or not. F5 has 3 products. Just see for 2 minutes, you can take a snapshot. It will really benefit you for lifetime. F5 can be deployed on cloud also. F5 can be deployed on your virtual editions also. Virtual machines means VMware workstation. And F5 can be deployed in hardware modules. Like first module or model number is 2000. This is the first box which F5 has introduced. So you can see virtual, physical, and hybrid. Hybrid means physical also, some cloud also. And Viprion is your chassis base where you can install multiple, you have bigger hardware with multiple chases. Multiple customers can be called in one hardware box. So these are the series 2000, 4000, 5000, 7000. And what does this mean? 25 Mbps is your throughput of your application. This is 200 Mbps virtual edition, 1 gigabit. That depends on your sales team, guys. Sales representative will help you. Now, guys, why we should use F5? Imagine a scenario where there is no load balancer and your all request goes from client to server directly. This will answer your question why load balancer is needed. Reachability from internet, load of public IP, because you need to do public IP allocation for one-to-one mapping. Security risk. All servers will be directly exposed to internet. SSL processing will happen on server because it does not have dedicated SSL engine. First disadvantage, this one. Second, this one. Third, this one. Fourth important one is 24/7. So you can give this 4 reasons why we need load balancer. Without load balancer, there is no security, no load balancing, no SSL proper handling of resources, and no way to distribute load. And fifth, you can say this. This way you will understand why we use F5. Now, what is the benefit? First benefit is a security device, guys. Very, very critical. Big IP is a default denied device. In interview, I will ask this question, whether F5 is a default denied device or it's a default allowed device. So by default, F5 is a denied device. Okay. And no traffic is allowed to pass until you configure your virtual server that I told you. That is the first advantage. Second advantage, SSL offloading, guys. It will bypass your SSL processing instead of server. F5 will do all encryption and decryption. Now, next thing is, what is the another advantage of intelligent load balancing? See, it is more than load balancer that you will come later on, but it will do load balancing algo so that one server does not get overutilized. High availability. That is, I told, if one server goes down, it will send traffic to another server. There is a concept of health monitor. Better performance. Because it has separate SSL engine, it has separate compression engine. You will never forget, guys, if you answer this. This question will be asked. Please note that 100%. When you don't have F5, what are the disadvantages? When you have F5, what are the advantages? This is the topology we have discussed. Application performance, availability, server capacity, and you have 24/7 availability. So you get availability, scalability, and overload balancing also you provide. So end of day, what are the three things which we learned? F5 provides you availability, load balancing, and security. Very, very important, guys. This one we have already discussed. And before F5 was not there, how the traffic was going. All the request was going over same server, and this was overloaded. And you were getting performance issues. Now, when F5 came into picture, see, some requests are going here from one client, some requests are going from another client, some requests are going. Load balancing was happening, no overutilized. And if one server goes down, other two servers are there. But here, if this server goes down, your application will have outage. This we have discussed. So this is now the next picture. Then we will have Q&A. Full proxy architecture. See, first three-way handshake will be happen between client to your virtual IP. Then there will be one get packet. Then F5 will choose one of the pool members. See, server in F5 is called your pool member. And your URL, it is called your virtual IP. When I was talking about server 1, server 2, and server 3, that is called your pool member. Then after that, that get packet will forward to server, and server will send response. And then client will able to access SIANETS.com. And client is happy.